Okay, welcome back to the build, everybody. In this video, we are going to install the shifter cables. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's take a look at where the shifter cables attach to the transaxle. You can see them right there, and they sort of duck right between the heat shielding and the transmission or transaxle adapter, and then run behind the headers. They're always behind the heat shielding, so they'll stay protected. I'm also going to wrap them in another fabric heat shield, so it should be good. All right, and then we'll the next segment will show where the shifter cable enters the passenger compartment. Okay, so basically the shifter cables come in under the alternator, which is the lower right side of the engine, and go through an angled tube, and then they enter the passenger compartment inside the center console, and then they're going to connect to the bracket that we installed in the last episode. And here we have some fitment issues. So these are basically the threaded ends that are supposed to go in this bracket and line up, and then they attach to the shifter. So they're a good 8 inches too short. So that is the challenge I have, and I have to think a little bit about how to solve that. So stay tuned. Okay, so after thinking about this a bit, I have a couple options here. So one option is really just to push the cable back into the rear compartment, and it turns out it starts to bow right in this area, and that area is actually empty, so it's not a bad thing. And you get sort of you can sort of hide the excess cable in that area. But I called the company that makes this cable. They're called Cable Shift, and I explained what I was dealing with, and they said, hey, you've got a standard set of cables, so we can certainly take those back. They haven't been installed, and make you a custom set. So that's what they're going to do. So I'm going to measure these cables and then give them the dimensions for the new set, and we'll take a look at them when they arrive. Okay, so stay tuned. Okay, well, it's about 6 weeks later, and I will tell you, the folks at Cable Shift, I work with a fellow named Jim, super nice folks over there, very eager to help, very eager to make sure everything fit properly and I got the right set of cables. So they exchanged those gray cables for these black cables, and the black ones actually have a silicone case to them, and they can withstand higher temperatures. So for my build, the higher temperature cables definitely the way to go. And you can see there's a black line I left on the chassis when I was locating the shifter, when I had the interior tub installed, and I'm able to get these cables to fit. And, there's maybe an inch of excess, but it's sort of impossible to get it down any closer than that. But it worked out really good. A couple comments here, which is I was able to set up the shifter so I could find all the gears on the Graziano. And the way I did it was I adjusted the rod ends, got these self-lubricating rod ends in there, and then also the cable shift end. And basically you play around with that until you can move the shifter in the maximum direction. So you'll hear a click when the shifter shaft clicks against the aluminum gate. Then the lines have moved as much as they can. And then you move over to the back of the trans and you set it into the neutral position, and then you align the back items. And we're going to take a look at that in the next segue. All right, I think we're going to call it a wrap with this segment. So we're looking at the Graziano, and we have the rod ends attached to the levers on the Graz. So as I mentioned, you basically set up the shifter so that it moves the cables the maximum distance, and you hear the shifter sort of click against the aluminum gate. That's a very satisfying noise for some crazy reason. And then basically what you have here is, okay, I put a transfer punch in this area here, and you can see, if I zoom in, there's a hole in the linkage, and then there's a matching hole in the casing. So when a dowel, or in this case, my transfer punch, fits in there, you know the transmission is in neutral. And then you adjust the rod ends to fit in that area. And then you could test out the shifter. And, I was able to adjust all this and get it working in about 15 minutes and find all the gears. So it's a pretty straightforward process. I think I had to turn, the ones back here 1 or 2 turns to tighten them up a little bit, and that was about it. Okay, so anyway, there we go. Let's see, maybe the last thing to note is here this is the shifter cable route. They sort of duck behind the heat shielding. I'm going to put some heavy duty fiberglass heat sleeves on those shifter cables. I'm going to use product from Heat Shield Products. I spoke with them, and they recommended a specific product, and we'll cover that at a later date. And then I'll probably add a second layer right where the shifter cables are of the heat shield on this side. Okay, so anyway, there we go. The shifter is finally installed. Appreciate you watching. Thanks, and take care.